Okay, welcome back, guys. It's the weekend. It's Friday evening here. The UK market is pretty much closed now, so it's time to do a video and go through the week and see what we can expect next week. Hope you're all well, and hey, let's just get right into this. Okay, this is $0 daily, and this is the larger degree wave count that I'm working on. You can see the high way back there on wave B, 126, 125.50 or so, back on February 18. And ever since February last year, we've been kind of trending lower. And the idea is that we've got 5 waves down in one, possibly 3 waves up, completing wave 2, and now we're going on a 1-2, and we're moving down into a third wave. The alternate count would be either a larger degree second wave here, or lower degree wave 2 there. So let's get in and check that out here. So there's the 4-hour chart, and you can see here that's the alternate count for the wave 2 in blue. For the moment, I'm still sticking with the idea that we're moving down into a third wave, and the main reason being is we have these series of 5 wave moves lower and 3 wave moves up. So if you take this particular move higher here, that's in a corrective 3 wave move. This move here is in a corrective overlapping move. The only one that actually kind of could break out impulsively was this previous spike here back into the March highs in 20th of March there. And since that, all we've done is move lower. So I think the market is now correcting again, and I think we should. The outlook is still the same for a move lower in a third wave. The alternate count will be. I'll probably switch the alternate count if we get a break above that 113.22 level there, and that's the previous wave 2. And even at that, you could even call that an alternate second wave in brown there, and it would probably be some sort of running flat, or some sort of expanded flat. But for the moment, I'm going to stick with this, and next week I think we should probably continue to move lower once we have this lower wave correction completed here. You can see that we've got a 5 wave move lower again, some sort of triangle wave 4 here into a wave 1 low, and then we've got an A. This was a tricky little one to uncover as it was playing out, as with what ended up what seems to be the most fitting is a triangle in a B wave. So we have 3, 3, 3, 3, and 3 contracting range, and then a spike off that. We have not hit the minimum target yet at 112.64. Would have expected that 112.64 today, but we could be working on a 4th wave here, and then a spike up to a complete wave C. And we'll see how that works out next week. I think if we get a spill down again on early next week, back down within that trend channel lower, a break of that wave 1 low, 111.10, that'll probably go a long way to confirming a third wave. And let's see if we get 5 waves lower again in wave 3. It's kind of a case of this is not the best market action in the world, but ever since we were calling a wave 2 high way back there in January, then we've moved lower. So I will admit that it's in no way has developed into an impulsive looking move yet, but that does not mean that it will not. So eyes open there. Okay, so let's go to the 4-hour chart in cable. Let's see, is there any? Yeah, I'm kind of working on this channel higher in a possible second wave or a wave C of 2, and we'll see how that works out. That trend channel higher here. If this is a C wave, you would expect 5 waves to complete up there, with a break at least of this previous wave A here. Yep, so I'm kind of looking at 133.80 for that minimum target. We've got that minimum target here for wave C. It's got a smaller trend channel here on the hourly chart, and we're moving slightly higher, but unconvincingly higher off that low today. It's very shallow and it's in three waves and it's quite overlapping. So I mean, you can still count this move lower as a 5-wave move as well. So we may even build an impulse wave off that next week, and we may never get a break of that 131.78 level there. If we see an impulse wave, like let's say a 5-wave move and a 3-wave correction to a lower high, I think then we'll probably move back to that previous wave count. But for the moment, I think it's interesting, or it's worth keeping an eye on this possible 3-wave move higher in wave C. But long term, I still think that the King Dollar will come back. And here's Dollar Yen. We moved up to the larger degree wave count there this week. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That was the alternate count. And now we could, well, we're close to, I think, the end of this correction anyway. Even though we broke that previous 4th wave and that kind of switched to the alternate count, we're kind of hanging around at that low now again. The 38% retracement, it's previous 4th wave. You have 50% retracement at 108.50, so that'll kind of be the lower end, I think, for this second wave. And we could bound around here for a while as well. It's quite possible that this will create a larger 3-wave structure. On the off chance that this is a C wave of even a larger 3-wave, I'm going to kind of draw attention to that right now. If I get in here, and you can talk amongst yourself while this computer is working. Takes forever. Get you there. So we could be talking about a flat as well. 3 waves down there. Maybe some sort of 3-wave move up here, and maybe a 5-wave move lower here in a C wave. So you could be talking about a flat wave 2 as well, and that would be completing pretty soon also. So if this is if wave 2 here is in fact this larger whole 3-wave structure, well then we're even closer to the beginning of wave 3 up than I might have expected, given this new wave count. But prudency will kind of dictate, let's say, that we keep in mind that we might have a larger 3-wave structure. Okay, so we could be, I'm labeling this as a flat, so that's 3 waves down in A, 3-wave move up in B, and then 1, 2, maybe 3 into Thursday's low, small 4th wave there into the overnight high, and then we could be moving down into a 5th wave again today. Although this is we've still only got 3 waves here into the low. These are the joys of charting and the joys of tracking the market. Is you just never know. You could be talking about a larger 4th wave and then a move down into wave 5. We shall see. It's the same job at the end of this. Once the correction is complete, we should see an impulse wave move back higher again, and then a break of that wave 1 high. I think a break of the previous wave B then 111.60 would more or less do the trick in signaling that wave 3 is underway. But for now, we're just kind of closing out this either larger 3-wave correction, A down, B up, C down, or we have wave 1 completed the high, and now we're working on this pretty tight 3-wave move lower with a 5-wave move in wave C. So I think I know I've been saying this for the last week or so, but I think we are closely to a very large rally in dollar yen than people might expect. Okay, let's get into the stock market. The stock market has moved lower, and I am, I'm still allowing for the possibility that we could see a new high in wave 5. Obviously, the lower it goes and the more impulsive that this count looks, well then the less likely that we will see a new high. The S&P is actually looking more impulsive to the downside than the Dow, but that can develop also. So I still think even if we don't make a new high in the Dow, I think we could still probably call this a failed fifth, and we'd work on again the bear market, but we'd have a minimum target of 21,000 again for the Dow. And I can't see a recovery from that, to be honest. Okay, so that's the 4 hour. Let's get into the hourly. I'm still charting this as a 3-wave move lower, with the possibility that it's quite tight here to to that wave 2 there at 25,349. We've bounced again off that previous low at 25,517. That would be Thursday. Is it Thursday low? Thursday is low. So again, it's kind of betwixt and between. I've got this alternate account on the go, actively kind of looking also for a 5-wave move lower. So hey, who knows, we might even get 5 waves down completed early next week. And if that's the case, well, then it's quite simple. We'd look for a 3-wave move higher again anyway. Back towards, let's say, that gap here in the that happened last week, that gap lower that happened last week. So that'd be about the lower end of that gap, about 26,200. So if that second wave is in play, then we'd talk about looking for a turn off 26,200 again. But like I said during the week, the bullish interpretations in the short term anyway are beginning to evaporate. So may we be seeing the long, let's say, the long suffered, or the long awaited top for the Dow? Let's see. That one is very much at the front of my mind right now, to be honest, especially given the broader market, given the fact that the broader market has made a new high, and we could be moving more impulsively off that high right now, and we'll get into that in a few short minutes. Okay, so outlook. I've got to say, I would nearly be favoring the bearish right now, and that's an easy thing for me to do, I know, but the job remains the same, even if it is even if this does develop into a 5-wave move lower. We still have to identify a 3-wave lower high after that. So I think next week could be very interesting, actually, in the Dow. Okay, gold. Gold has moved higher, but again, it seems quite corrective. So we could be still working on this, let's say, zigzag correction wave 2. We've got the recent low there on Wednesday evening at 1279. So we'd probably look for a retest of that 1279 again, and then a move higher into wave 3. I'm not convinced by the alternate count here. That would be a larger wave 4, and then 5 waves lower in wave 5. But again, it's not impossible at all. So we'll keep that for the moment. I think if we get a test of 1279 and a nice bounce again, I think that would most likely give us a small degree impulse wave in place, and a bullish signal for gold, especially if the market if the stock market is topping right now, or has topped, let's say, and we start seeing some serious down days. Gold could well catch a bid on that, or it will most likely catch a bid on that. Okay, so this is crude oil. Let's get to the 4-hour count of crude oil. Still working on this impulse pattern. So far, so good. We've got 5 waves down, and we're working on a 3-wave correction to a lower high here. We've got that 62% retracement again. That's 63.56, and the short-term count just so happens to kind of point to that level again. So let's get into the short-term count, and anticipating a large 3rd-wave move lower. Okay, so here is the short-term count. Possible 5-wave move lower. Wave 5 itself's got 5 waves, and maybe a running flat. Maybe a running flat wave B. We've got wave A up, and then a possible running flat wave B, and working on wave C up now again. We could also be looking at a larger triangle, which would simply mean that the market will continue to contract on Monday before pushing higher into wave C. But still looking for this three-wave pattern to close out, and then a retest of a break of $60 again, let's say in 5 waves down, and that'll signal that wave 3 is underway. But for now, I think we are very close to a significant signal in crude oil. Okay, so let's get in the S&P. And like I said, the S&P did make a new high. I actually switched to the alternate, more bearish count this evening, given the action that we've had. But that doesn't mean... So, well, the job from here would be to see if we can identify a three-wave correction. But for now, we could be working on 5 waves down, and if that's the case, well, then it's kind of look out below, really. We're kind of back at that previous correction here, so we have wave 3 high. That'd be kind of like a swing high for the moment, and swing low of a correction here. So we've got that 2800 level as support for the moment, and we've got another spike this evening. So let's see. I'll go into the short-term count and explain that a little bit better. The market gapped lower pretty much out of the open. We sold down. We reached a low at more or less, well, we broke support anyway, at we reached a low at 28.24 or so, and we bounced off that level again. So it's still, mid-trade, let's say, in the US right now. So we'll see what happens for the rest of the afternoon. 6 o'clock here, so you've got, 2.5 hours more of a trade to go. So I think if you look at the pattern lower, I think this the fact that we broke to a new high, and the fact that we've got nice sharp moves to the downside again off that new high, it does seem to be kind of leaning towards that the idea that we're forming 5 waves down again. So again, a new spike low this morning. You can count this as 5 waves down, and I'll go over that now. He's got a wave 1, and then an A, B, C, a running flat wave 2, possible 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 into wave 3, and you can see that kind of flat correction wave 4 that we were looking at, and then 3 waves up again into wave 4, and now some sort of a sharp move lower anyway in wave 5. It's hard to, maybe if I went in quite low into the pattern there, might be able to pick out 5 waves, but we've bounced off that low anyway. So we overall, you could say that we've got 5 waves down. Let's see if we get a correction in 3 waves up to around again that gap lower, that space, that gap in the market starts at about 2900. So if we got a retracement into 2900 in 3 waves over, let's say, it would most likely take most of next week to do that, given the size of the pattern that I'm looking for. So there's a very decent chance that we could have an impulse wave completed next week off the top, and I'm far more comfortable with the S&P topping here, simply because of the fact that we reached a new all-time high, and that was the target. That was the minimum target for wave 5, and now we're pushing lower again, and we've sold off quite significantly off that high. So obviously people aren't convinced that suddenly people realize the valuations matter, in the end. So we've got a possible 5-wave move lower and maybe an impulse wave forming. And so that's the outlook for next week. Okay, I've got the 4-hour chart here in silver, so we'll move on. We've got a nice bounce and we've got a slight correction off that bounce. So the idea is that we may well be moving back to the upside again in a third wave. So wave 1 up, an ABC pattern, declining momentum, diverging momentum, 3 waves down, and a nice spike to get us back up to that 50-period moving average again, so in the 4-hour chart. So things are looking reasonably bright for silver right now. Here's the short-term chart. I got a possible ending diagonal, wave C, and wave 1 and 2 as a flat. So next week you'll be looking for another spike to break above $15 again to signal that wave 3 is underway. I think if we got a further kind of higher low, then that would probably indicate that wave 3 has begun. But a nice solid break of $15 would be very welcome here and signal that wave 3 up has begun. All right, let's get into treasuries. Well, that's the Bitcoin market. Treasuries, again, we've corrected to a kind of a lower high. We're kind of really floundering at that 62% retracement level. For the moment, it doesn't look like the market wants to move any higher. We've got fairly sharp moves to the downside. You've got a final 5th wave, which does actually break into 5 waves. And then a possible 3-wave lower high there if you actually pull that out again. You've got an ABC pattern to a lower high. We're off the high again today, so very possible that we're working on wave 1 of 3. So early next week, we'd like to see again the quintessential top formation or signal that a top is in is 5 waves down off that high. And that's the outlook for next week, that we get wave 3 down underway. And hey, I may as well have a look at that daily. I've changed this count slightly. I was looking at wave 1, 2, 3, and this as a 4th wave. So we had an extension higher in that recent move. So it looks like we've got wave 1 and 2 actually now complete. We've got a lower high. We've got incredibly bearish divergence here in momentum. And of course, the Bitcoin craze is back again. Did you ever think that the people that, hey, who am I to say? People that bought right at the top are bullish again. And the predictions have been wild over the last few weeks for Bitcoin. People think that we're going to break 20,000 again. So far be it for me to stop you if you want, but I really don't like buying overvalued markets. If you haven't guessed that already, I don't like buying overvalued markets. So if you actually pull that C waves out, let's actually get into that 4-hour chart there and see if I can explode it a bit. Yeah, so that's the C wave here. See, you've got possibly a 5-3-5 actually. 5 up in ABC down, and then a 1, 2, 3, some sort of expanded flat 4, and then 5. And wave 5 itself has got 1, 2, 3, correction here in 4, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, I think we're dead at the end here. But anyway, that's for another day. I do not like crazily, let's say, crazed markets, and Bitcoin is a crazed market right now. Okay, so that does it for the week. Thanks for being with me, and We'll get back to you on Monday evening after the close, and we'll see how that goes. Stock market is looking incredibly interesting again, and I was looking earlier today that the unicorn of unicorns, Uber, had priced late last night. It was at 45, and now it's already sold off. Now you'd expect some initial selling, but they priced the stock at the lower end of the range, and the initial market reaction has been a sell-off. So people don't even like unicorns these days. And who doesn't like unicorns, eh? Okay, that does it. Let's see how Monday goes, and I will be with you again, as always, Monday evening. God bless, guys. Have a good weekend. Bye-bye.